What if everything you were taught about money was designed to keep you poor? The financial system does not reward effort, it rewards control. And most people, regardless of how hard they work, how much they save, or how loyal they are to the rules, are systematically trained to stay broke. From childhood, they are conditioned to trade time for money, to obey invisible scripts, and to believe that struggle is noble. But while they're clocking in, budgeting pennies, and asking for raises, there are others who operate in silence, quietly acquiring power, assets, and leverage, watching the herd exhaust itself for scraps. Understand this: wealth is not distributed by merit, it is extracted by design. And if you don't see the design, you are part of the performance. You must be made to believe that ownership is complicated, that it's reserved for the lucky, the gifted, or the well-connected. You must be made to believe that the path to wealth is to earn more, to work longer, to become more productive. But ask yourself, why do those who work the hardest often stay stuck in the lowest classes? Why do immigrants, laborers, teachers, and nurses, the very backbone of society, remain at the mercy of every financial crisis? Because they've been trained to stay on the treadmill. Their ambition is captured and redirected, their income is taxed, their time is consumed, and their identity is fused with labor. Meanwhile, the ruling class moves in silence, making one decision that changes everything. Principle 1. Most people are trained to earn, not to own. Now the illusion is exposed. You'll begin to see the hidden script. Employees are praised for loyalty, but punished with stagnation. They're told to specialize, to become so good they can't be ignored, but this only makes them easier to replace. A system that rewards hours is a system that punishes scale. The poor are handed wages, which expire every month. The rich acquire assets, which multiply without effort. The poor sell time, which is limited. The rich buy equity, which is infinite. Most people don't own their home, their company, their ideas, or even their schedule. They work inside machines they don't control, building empires they'll never inherit. Ownership is the only form of escape, and yet it's the one thing never taught in schools, never encouraged in corporate meetings, never normalized in working-class homes. Because the moment a man learns to own his labor, his name, his leverage, he becomes dangerous to the hierarchy. This is why most will never escape, because their identity is tethered to their job. To suggest anything else feels insulting, unsafe, or delusional. They will defend their struggle, mock the idea of passive income, scoff at leverage, and ridicule those who build online businesses or buy into systems they can't fully explain. Not because those ideas are flawed, but because those ideas threaten the entire psychological structure of their life. When someone has been taught that work equals worth, anything that challenges the sanctity of effort feels like heresy. So they cling to suffering as virtue. They despise the wealthy but dream of winning the lottery. They hate their boss but fear freedom. They crave wealth but reject ownership. That's how deep the programming runs. The rich know this. That's why they never argue about hard work. They don't need to. They simply control what the hard workers are building. Ownership is upstream of labor. The landlord doesn't have to fix the toilet, he owns the building. The founder doesn't have to write every line of code, he owns the product. The investor doesn't have to clock in, he owns a piece of the machine. Every layer of the financial world is designed to reward ownership, equity, royalties, profit shares, licensing, interest, dividends. It's not about working harder, it's about owning the thing that others work hard for. And once you understand that shift, you will never look at income the same way again. But this knowledge is dangerous because it shatters illusions. It makes you question the path you were sold. It makes you wonder why you were never taught to buy stocks, own real estate, build a brand, or create products. It makes you notice how every ad, every course, every piece of propaganda keeps pushing you back toward productivity, hustle, discipline, all within someone else's system. And it forces you to confront the brutal truth. If you don't own the thing, you are the thing. Your time, your attention, your output, rented out, marked up, and sold to someone wealthier than you. That is the reality of most lives. Beautifully obedient, tragically disposable. So ask yourself this. If you stopped working today, would anything keep paying you? They will teach you how to manage money, but not how to control where it flows. They will show you how to work hard, but not how to make money move in your absence. They will sell you books, seminars, degrees, and side hustles, all aimed at making you a more efficient laborer. But they will never hand you the key to cash flow. Because once you control the flow, You no longer beg for the flood. The poor are taught to hold buckets in the rain. The rich build the pipes. And by the time the working class feels secure, the money's already been redirected. That's why so many people feel like they're doing everything right and still can't breathe. There is a single rule the rich follow religiously, while the poor spend their lives chasing exceptions. It is hidden behind corporations, trusts, royalties, and quiet equity. It is the unspoken law of asymmetric wealth, and when followed, it shatters the illusion of effort-based success. Principle 2. Cash flow beats hard work every time. This is not about laziness. It's about mechanics. The mechanic who works 60 hours a week earns a wage. The landlord who owns the building gets paid whether it's Tuesday or Sunday. The influencer hustling brand deal still works for every dollar, but the owner of the platform earns off the traffic of others. Understand the difference. Hard work depends on you being present. Cash flow does not. Hard work creates exhaustion. Cash flow creates freedom. Hard work earns pity and applause. Cash flow earns silence, envy, and escape. The system prefers that you worship hustle because hustle keeps you visible, predictable, and easy to manipulate. But once you start to buy time with assets, systems, and recurring income, you exit the game they built for you. The poor are baited into effort traps. Over time, freelancing, small businesses that depend entirely on their presence. They are praised for their grind and rewarded with anxiety. There is no leverage, only time for money, time for money, time for money until their body breaks or the economy does. Meanwhile, the rich quietly set up automated flows, content that sells without them, investments that pay on schedule, licenses that generate royalties, systems that extract while they sleep. They don't chase peaks, they install pumps. And once those pumps are working, they scale them without being visible. This is why so many of the richest people you've never heard of don't want you to know they exist. Because cash flow doesn't make noise, it just moves. The economy punishes consistency when it's tied to effort. A barista who shows up on time every day still earns the same. A consultant who closes one big contract gets paid more in a month than a nurse in a year. The world rewards leverage, not loyalty, recurring income without recurring effort. That is the difference between owning a machine and being one. This is why so many employees hit a wall. Their output is capped. Their income is linear. Their freedom is fictional. And when inflation rises, layoffs come, or health fails, they realize how little protection hustle actually gives them. Without systems that pay them passively, they are always one misstep away from collapse. This is also why the wealthy stay calm during recessions. They don't rely on active effort to survive. Their cash flow comes from contracts, rents, licenses, dividends, things that are tied to ownership, not to energy. They can afford to wait. They can afford to pivot. They can afford to lose. Because they're not the engine, they're the architect. The poor panic, sell low, take bad jobs, go into debt. The rich shift allocations, buy undervalued assets, and collect while the world burns. It's not because they're smarter, it's because they control the current. And once you understand this, you stop swimming. So ask yourself this: if you were hit by a car tomorrow, would your money keep moving? The poor are taught to fear debt like it's a disease, like it's a virus that eats away at the soul and guarantees collapse. And in their world it is. Because when you borrow without leverage, debt becomes a noose. But what they're not told, what is deliberately hidden, is that the rich use debt not as a burden, but as a weapon. They don't pay for things, they finance control. They don't fear interest, they transfer it. And while the middle class drowns trying to pay off their student loans and credit cards, the wealthy use debt to buy assets, reduce taxes, and scale empires without touching a cent of their own cash. The system isn't just rigged, it's engineered so the ignorant rent from the informed. You were conditioned to believe that being debt-free is a badge of honor, that it's moral, safe, respectable. But ask yourself, who benefits from that belief? Who profits when you fear leverage? Who collects when you make your final payment on a depreciating asset that never paid you back? Here's what they don't want you to know. Principle 3. Debt is a weapon when used by the rich. They use it to expand, to multiply, to create returns faster than savings ever could. While you save for 10 years to buy a house, they borrow for 10 houses and rent them to you. While you wait to launch until you have the cash, they launch with a loan and dominate the market. Debt becomes risk only when you borrow for liabilities. When you use it to fund consumption, vacations, and validation, it eats you alive. But when you borrow for cash-flowing assets, strategic plays, and asymmetric returns, you're not in debt, you're in control. The rich don't fear being in debt. They fear not owning enough. Governments do it. Corporations do it. Billionaires do it. They borrow billions to buy back stock, to expand operations, to acquire competitors, and pay interest with someone else's cash. Meanwhile, the average person thinks using credit is shameful because they've only seen debt from below, from the borrower's knees, not from the lender's throne. This is not an accident. The system depends on you not understanding how to weaponize it. That's why schools teach you compound interest, but never capital structure. That's why they warn you about bad credit, but never explain credit arbitrage. They want obedient earners, not sovereign architects. When the rich use debt, they reduce exposure and increase upside. They put their name on nothing and control everything. They let the asset cover the interest and the government reduce the taxes. They take equity from borrowed money, then leverage that equity for more, and if it collapses, the debt is limited, the liability is protected, and the game resets. It's not personal, it's structural. The poor risk everything for crumbs, the rich risk nothing for control. And until you adopt that mindset, you will always be at the mercy of those who did. The middle class sees a mortgage as a dream. The rich see it as a tool. The poor fear debt because they only experience it in desperation. The rich embrace it because they use it by design. If you want to build power, you must be willing to rewire your relationship with debt. You must stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking, "Will this pay me back?" You must stop thinking like a buyer and start thinking like a bank. Because the people who told you to avoid debt borrow against your ignorance every day. So ask yourself this: are you in control of your money, or is your fear of debt keeping you poor? The rich don't chase money. They chase patterns, signals, whispers. They know that money doesn't just appear, it follows information. It flows in response to knowledge, shifts in perception, and narrative manipulation. The poor think the game is about numbers. The rich know it's about sequence. Whoever sees the change first, profits first. Everyone else is reacting, bleeding, wondering what happened. That's why the rich don't wait for trends. They create them. They don't guess where money will go. They move the narrative so the money follows. And by the time the average person acts, the move is already done. The entire financial system is a theater of information asymmetry. News breaks after positions are already taken. Public sentiment is shaped after insiders have moved. Stock tips are shared after the big players exit. And what the world calls luck, the rich call timing. But it's not timing by chance, it's timing by access, timing by design. Principle 4. Information moves markets before money does. Understand what this means. The rich are not always smarter. They're simply earlier. They pay for speed. They pay for silence. They pay for exclusivity. A single memo, leaked document, whisper in the right room, and billions can shift. A regulatory change, a company restructuring, a quiet acquisition. These things aren't just news. They're tools. The elite don't consume headlines. They write them. And the moment that narrative hits the public, it's not an opportunity. It's bait. This is why retail traders always lose. They react to what's already happened. They see a stock spike and think it's momentum. They see a crypto dip and think it's fear. But they're seeing the wake, not the wave. The rich front-run the narrative. They understand how information will be interpreted, how crowds will respond, and how algorithms will amplify. They use media to move masses. They use leaks to trigger fear. They use fake outrage to shift sentiment. It's not news, it's choreography. This is also why true wealth rarely looks loud. Because those who profit from information don't want attention. They don't want applause, they want silence. They move early, exit early, and disappear before the crowd even realizes what happened. This is how wealth is protected, by staying invisible in the fog of noise. The poor crave signals. The rich manipulate them. The poor follow volume. The rich follow whispers. And the ones who profit most, they don't need to be right. They just need to be first. If you want to rise, you must stop waiting for confirmation. You must learn to see what others ignore, to read between the headlines, to feel the shift before it's explained. You must stop acting on public information and start decoding private movement. Study what the powerful do, not what they say. Watch where the money moves before it's announced. Trace the incentives. Follow the patterns. That's where wealth begins. Not in effort, not in luck, but in silence before the noise. So ask yourself this: do you make decisions based on what they tell you or on what they haven't told you yet? The rich don't gamble. They don't take chances. They calculate outcomes, tilt the board, and eliminate variables. Meanwhile, the poor are trained to embrace risk as courage, to throw themselves into unstable ventures and call it bravery. They're praised for their hustle and buried by its consequences. But look closely and you'll see a pattern. Risk is always marketed to the lower class. Lottery tickets, crypto pumps, MLM schemes, one-man startups with no moat. It's all sold under the banner of opportunity. But in truth, it's a trap. Risk keeps the poor hoping. Leverage keeps the rich winning. You are not taught to ask who benefits from your risk. You are told that risk is part of the game, that you must take the leap, that you either go big or go broke. But who profits when you go broke? Who sells you the dream, then rents you the tools? The reality is cold, efficient, and brutally elegant. Principle 5. Risk is for the poor. Leverage is for the rich. The rich rarely bet without backup. They don't leap, they construct platforms that carry them forward. Even if they fall, they don't use their own money. They use other people's capital, time, and reputation. And if the play fails, the liability is absorbed by the structure, not the individual. But the poor, they start businesses in their name, take personal loans, and risk everything they own. Their mistakes are fatal. The rich design systems where mistakes are feedback. The poor enter games where mistakes are final. This is by design. Risk is fed to the masses as freedom, but what they're really consuming is volatility with no hedge. They are taught to glorify the struggle, to celebrate the grind, to applaud the courage of those who walk the tightrope with no net. But no one tells them the net exists, just not for them. The rich build nets with information, partnerships, insurance, and hidden clauses. They hedge every move, diversify every exposure, and protect the downside before they play offense. Because real power is not about what you can earn, it's about what you can survive. Leverage, on the other hand, is quiet. It's ownership without effort, influence without exposure. Leverage allows the rich to move billions with a signature, to shift industries with a message, to dominate with one asset that scales infinitely. It is not just capital, it is code, brand, systems, distribution, reputation, licensing, automation, delegation. It is control over outcomes with minimal input. The poor think working harder will close the gap, but hard work is linear, leverage is exponential. The poor work to earn more, the rich install levers to need less effort. This is why the myth of equal risk, equal reward is nonsense. The risks are not equal. The protections are not equal. The visibility is not equal. The rules are not equal. And yet, the poor continue to take risks that benefit everyone but themselves, because they think that's what ambition looks like. They're applauded for their courage and quietly harvested for their naivety. The truth is this: the game isn't about being brave, it's about being positioned. And if you're risking everything without control, you're not bold, you're bait. So ask yourself this: are you making a power play, or are you being played? The tax system is not broken. It works perfectly for those who designed it. While the average person works, earns, and pays, the rich structure, defer, and compound. The masses are conditioned to see taxes as unavoidable, as a duty, as the price of civilization. But the rich see it differently. They see it as a cost to be minimized, delayed, or completely redirected. The system rewards those who own, penalizes those who labor, and protects those who understand the difference. Most people are playing defense with taxes. The rich are playing chess. You were never meant to understand the structure. You were meant to follow the form, to fill in boxes, to file early, to be proud of your compliance. But you were never shown how the game is actually scored. You were taught about income, not about capital. You were taught to earn, not to allocate. And in that blindness, you were trapped into the highest burden. Here's what no one says out loud. Principle 6. Taxes punish labor, not assets. This is the quiet war that most never see. A worker earns $100,000 in salary, pays $30,000 in taxes, and maybe saves a fraction of what's left. Meanwhile, A real estate investor reports a $100,000 paper loss while collecting $200,000 in rental income and pays zero in taxes. One is taxed for showing up. The other is rewarded for owning the right paper. This is not corruption. It is policy. The tax code is not a list of punishments. It is a map of incentives. And labor, no matter how noble, is not incentivized. It is exploited. The rich don't work for income. They create flow through equity. They avoid salary. They structure compensation. They defer gains. They borrow against appreciating assets instead of realizing taxable events. They understand that the moment you earn directly, you expose yourself. But when you operate through entities, trusts, credits, and depreciation, you gain options. You control timing. You reduce visibility. You play on a board the average person doesn't even know exists. Because the tax code isn't written for employees. It's written for architects. This is also why the rich don't chase raises. Because a higher income means higher exposure. They'd rather own 10% of a machine that scales than 100% of a paycheck that shrinks after taxes and inflation. And this is where the trap gets darker. The poor are baited into higher incomes to feel progress, only to find themselves in higher tax brackets, working longer hours, with less freedom and more liability. They climb a ladder that leads to nowhere, because the ladder was never theirs to begin with. The real power lies in reclassification. Reclassifying time into systems, income into equity, expenses into deductions, ownership into legal shields. The government won't teach you this. Your boss won't teach you this. Your accountant might not even know how to execute it, because the entire system depends on the masses fearing the IRS and worshipping the paycheck. But the wealthy don't fear the IRS. They use the code. They don't worship the paycheck. They control the flows beneath it. And once you learn how that flow works, you can stop trading your life for less than it's worth. So ask yourself this: are you being taxed for what you produce or for what you don't yet own? The poor are exposed. Every hour they work is documented. Every dollar they earn is taxed. Every move they make is traceable, visible, and vulnerable. Visibility is painted as virtue: be known, be seen, build your brand. But visibility is a trap. The more they see you, the more they can measure you, limit you, control you. While the working class flaunts their earnings, their lifestyle, their growth, the truly powerful move in silence. Their names are hidden behind trusts, their assets parked in shadow companies, their plays executed by proxies. The more wealth you hold, the more you learn to vanish. You are conditioned to believe that being public is power, that if people see your success, they'll respect it, that if you broadcast your wins, the world will reward you. But the rich don't play that game. They don't seek applause. They seek insulation. They understand the law of exposure, and they operate accordingly. Principle 7. Visibility makes you vulnerable. Think carefully about who gets audited, who gets targeted, who gets investigated. It's never the ghost with the assets hidden beneath 6 layers of legal armor. It's the loud success story with their name on every title, every company, every record. Visibility attracts attention. Attention breeds envy. Envy invites attack. The world is not kind to the visible. It punishes what it can see. And in a system designed to extract, being seen is the first step to being drained. This is why the richest men in the world are not the ones you know. The names you see on lists are the ones who allowed themselves to be seen. The real power brokers, the family offices, the dynasties, the intergenerational capital. They don't want you to know they exist. They don't need press. They don't need social media. They don't need your respect. They need discretion, because the game isn't about fame, it's about leverage. And when you're truly wealthy, you realize that your name is a liability. Corporations shield identity. Foundations shield intention. Delegates shield movement. And by the time the public hears of a play, the beneficiary is already gone. This isn't paranoia, it's protocol. The public thinks the goal is to be a millionaire influencer, but the rich laugh at that idea. Why put the target on your back? Why broadcast the vault? The loud ones attract lawsuits, scrutiny, demands. The silent ones collect and compound, untouched, undisturbed. Even in entrepreneurship, the lesson remains. Own the machine, but let someone else wear the logo. Build the empire, but let the employees face the crowd. If your name is on the product, then your face is on the liability. The poor attach identity to everything they do. The rich detach identity from everything they own. Because the moment you become the brand, the system knows how to sell you, track you, and tax you. So ask yourself this: are you building power, or just painting a target on your back? The poor are obsessed with skills. They collect certificates, master tools, stack degrees, and believe that being the most qualified will earn them wealth. But in the real world, it's not skill that wins, it's access. The most talented often work for the most connected. The technician serves the strategist. The builder serves the broker. And while the skilled fight for visibility, the connected quietly consolidate power. This is the great lie of meritocracy, that skill alone is enough. In truth, it is the network that moves the needle. And the deeper the network, the less skill is required. They taught you to believe that you must earn everything alone, that your competence will speak for itself, that being the best will get you noticed. But the people who rise fastest aren't the best. They're the best connected. The investor who gets first access to the deal, the founder who knows the gatekeeper, the executive who gets pulled up by a silent handshake. Talent is scalable. Relationships are irreplaceable, which leads us to the next unspoken law of the elite. Principle 8. Networks create money faster than skill. Look around you. Who controls capital? Who controls distribution? Who gets the first look at new opportunities? It's not the most skilled, it's the most trusted, the most embedded, the most silently positioned inside webs of mutual benefit. You can be a world-class operator and still go broke in isolation. But an average player with elite connections can move millions with one phone call. This is the difference between linear effort and exponential influence. Skill is about what you can do. Network is about what others will do for you when it matters. This is also why the wealthy spend enormous time on relationships. They invest in proximity, not just productivity. Private dinners, golf courses, silent partnerships, inner circles. Deals are negotiated before they reach the public. Terms are set before you ever hear of the opportunity. And the person with the most connections doesn't compete. They curate. They choose where to enter, when to exit, and who gets left behind. It's not about fairness, it's about filtration. The poor think networking is collecting contacts, exchanging business cards, attending crowded events, and sending cold DMs. But real networks aren't visible. They are cultivated in silence. Through loyalty, shared leverage, and long-term alignment. The people who move markets aren't the loudest. They're the ones who get the call before the headline drops. And if you're not in the room, you don't matter. Not because you're unworthy, but because the game is already over before you see the board. This is why building skill in isolation is dangerous. You become efficient but replaceable, talented but unknown, valuable but only to those who will extract from you. The system rewards connection, not perfection. You can study forever and still be broke, but with the right call, the right table, the right introduction, your world can shift overnight. That's how the elite move, quietly, surgically, through doors that don't open from the outside. So ask yourself this: do you keep sharpening the blade, or are you finally ready to meet the man who holds the key? The rich don't compete. Competition is for those still trying to prove themselves, still fighting for a seat at a table someone else built. The poor are conditioned to believe that the path to success is to outperform others, get better grades, win the interview, outsell your peers, outwork the next guy. But the elite don't live in comparison, they live in control. They don't chase market share, they construct markets. They don't beat rivals, they eliminate alternatives. The goal is not to win, it's to position so perfectly that winning becomes inevitable. This is the final and most brutal truth. It's the law that separates the self-made from the self-trapped. The poor seek validation, the rich seek dominance, not through ego, but through structural design. Principle 9, the rich never compete, they position. Look closely at how the wealthy operate. They don't enter saturated markets. They build monopolies. They don't bid for clients. They create demand. They don't ask for permission. They own the gate. Position means you are the only option, the preferred choice, the one with leverage before the game begins. And the moment you reach that level, the rules bend. You price without pushback. You move without resistance. You dominate without noise. This is why the smartest founders don't build faster horses. They build new lanes. It's why the wealthiest investors don't follow the crowd. They fund what the crowd will follow next. It's why the most powerful families don't scream for attention. They shape the incentives so others scream for them. Position is not about being better, it's about being untouchable. And the path to it begins the moment you stop trying to prove yourself and start designing your environment. The working class enters markets with no edge, no insulation, no leverage. They compete on price, on speed, on effort, and bleed until they burn out. But the rich move with asymmetric advantages: information asymmetry, regulatory capture, brand gravity, distribution control, political access. They don't fight in arenas they don't control. They create the arenas, sell the tickets, and watch the fight from above. You were never meant to win by competing. You were meant to exhaust yourself doing so. Compete long enough, and you'll believe that stress is normal, that hustle is noble, that struggle is a sign of future reward. But all it really signals is exposure, vulnerability, dependency on systems that reward obedience over originality. The rich detach from all of that. They reposition. They control perception, capital, and timing. And in doing so, they play a different game entirely. This is why you must stop thinking like a player. You must become the board. Reposition your skill into systems, your visibility into mystique, your brand into a bottleneck. Make them come to you. Make them need you. Make them wonder where you went. Then realize they've already paid you. Because once you control the positioning, they can't outwork you, outprice you, or outmaneuver you. They can only follow. So ask yourself this: are you trying to win the game, or are you finally ready to own the table? If you have made it this far, it is because a part of you already knows this truth. Wealth is not created by luck or fairness. It is created by decisions most people are too afraid to make. While the majority chase comfort, approval, and short-term pleasure, a few choose discipline, strategy, and long-term control. Now tell me in the comments if you are ready to separate yourself from the habits that keep people broke. If this message touched you and made sense, write in the comments, "I choose wealth." Let us see how many here are truly ready to step into a different future. And do not forget, keep watching the next video. It is important, much more than you imagine. See you there.